Hey, this is Rob Cavestany from Death Angel, and you're listening to Heavy Demons.
So, dear Rob, how is this tour going?
It's going great. Yeah, so far been about 2 weeks, and been amazing so far.
Yeah, and have you got any big news for us for the forthcoming album by Death Angels?
Well, we have a lot of things happening right now. We have, I think this week we're releasing our DVD, Thrashumentary DVD, as well as a live album.
Mm-hmm.
It's called The Bay Calls for Blood, so that's coming out both at the same time, and so that's brand new. And we're going to go into the studio after this tour and start recording our next album.
Yeah, and as Death Angel, you took quite a break in the past. What did you do in those years as Rob?
Well, usually just play music, but in different bands and with different people and stuff. But usually, I mean, my life is just based around making music. So whether it's in Death Angel or not, I just find myself doing music. So I did a lot of different musical projects, and as well as other things, had different jobs and just whatever, you know what I mean? Just life that wasn't spending constantly on tour. So, but since then we've been on tour nonstop.
And which differences do you find between the early days and nowadays, audience and other bands, promotion on the internet and stuff?
Well, of course it's completely different because of everything's different. The world is different, so along with it is what happens with music and the scene and fans and the whole thing. But the main difference is because of the technology. Really, that's what the difference is, and the way that people share music and the massive amounts of music that's available, and people can just get for free, and one thing leads to the other. I mean, there's so much to discuss about it, but other than the obvious things where music is easily passed along from one to another and stuff like that, so that has good and bad sides, and the way music is recorded, and just the way that it makes things easier and gives shortcuts for things is good for some things and ruins other things. So that's what I think. But in the essence still of people loving music and fans of music remains the same, I would think. It's just the sound that's happening to you, not more than anything. It should be what you're hearing, the music and the songs. So that stays the same, I think.
Yeah, and in the latest 5 or 6 years, I've noticed doing my radio shows that there are many very young new bands playing thrash metal here in Italy.
That's good.
The same also in the States.
Yes, there are. There's definitely a lot.
It's like a renaissance.
Yes, for sure. And a bunch of it's awesome because it's cool. Of course, it reminds me of us when we were young, and it's just the same thing happens. It's music for youth, especially, and people that has a lot of energy, and the same point needs to happen to people, whether it's now or 20 years ago or whatever. Still, if you're a kid and you get a hold of that feeling and that scene, it could be exciting and fun. And so I'm glad that these kids are recognizing it and making some good music while they're doing it and having fun. It's a fun kind of music.
Yeah, and why do you think thrash metal knew this renaissance and not other genres? Do you think it's a very energetic kind of music?
Well, because it's
ageless.
In a way, yeah. There's parts of it that are very dated,
yeah.
But again, overall, there's a way of playing it and listening to it and understanding it that is timeless.
Yeah.
So there is a timeless quality to it. It lasted through time, and if it was not good enough, people would not be playing it now. So I think and there are still a lot of bands that exist all the way from the early days of it, and that managed to just stay relevant. You just incorporate modern elements with older elements and bring it all the way to a current sound.
Yeah.
So it can be everlasting depending on how you evolve it.
Yeah, and what shall like the fans expect from your new album, musically speaking, and lyrically too?
I mean, as much of a Death Angel album as you might think. Yeah, right. But other than that, I can't really explain it because the way we approach writing and creating, we just kind of let it, just whatever we're writing at the time. So one song can be one way and one song can be another. But overall, it's the same thing. Like whatever we've written so far it's got all the elements. It's fucking heavy, very, very heavy. Some parts are brutal and totally fast and brutal. Some parts are like more grooving and like more fucking just like solid fucking beat, like fucking pumping kind of sound, and like everything in between, melodic and fucking ripping your face off.
Yeah.
It's urgent. It all sounds urgent because it's always coming from an urgent place, one way or the other.
Yeah, it's a need from the inside.
Very emotional sound in our style. Yeah.
Yeah, and which are like your main influences as a musician?
Oh man, there's
Either
so
band,
many.
Yeah.
I mean,
you
like,
wear such an amazing T-shirt.
it's just there's
Merciful
a
Fate.
ridiculous amount. Okay, so we start with Merciful Fate. I love their
The early stuff.
the early stuff, of course. Don't Break the Oath and Melissa, two of my favorite albums. And I mean, but my musical taste spans so many. Like from them, in the early days, I love listening to Rush and Kiss and Scorpions and Priest and Sabbath, Zeppelin, AC/DC, like straight ahead more rock, and even things like Stevie Wonder and Earth, Wind and Fire and the Beatles and like just a lot of music that has great songwriting and like stuff, and then progressing into the rock world where we're influenced with Death Angel and stuff. It goes, you start listening to bands like Metallica, Slayer, and all the heavier bands, Motorhead, and punk rock like Discharge and GBH and Cro-Mags, and like crazy stuff, Dead Kennedys, and like Fishbone, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Faith No More.
Never ending.
There's so many great artists and musicians that I love, all the way through to Public Enemy, to Beastie Boys, to Bob Marley, and Fleetwood Mac.
And like, do you find any difference between the European audience and the American audience?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in general, overall, it's just kind of, and I'm not saying this about every single American and every single European, but it's just in general. You have to, generally speaking, the masses of the crowd are more receptive to our music in Europe, and they just seem to be more receptive to music in general, as far as paying attention and taking the music so seriously. Even you could tell by the way we're treated at the venues when we play. More overall, all the people working, the staff, everyone involved in doing the show and stuff is like into it. Like they're proud of what they do, and they're like happy about being part of the whole thing and everything. And then the fans appreciate. And there's just like a whole thing. And a lot of times, like somehow points of I just picture in the States, it's just like some people aren't caring that much about it. They seem like they're just whatever. Like they're not really paying that much attention. Shit's not flowing as smoothly, and people aren't. And then in the crowd, sometimes it's the same kind of vibe. Like people just aren't totally getting absorbed into the music and the show. But it's just I don't know. It's an American thing in certain ways. There's aspects of America that I don't like, and that kind of goes along with the overall vibe. Which isn't to say that we don't have great shows in America, and especially some of the major cities. It's like a whole another world when you're playing in New York, San Francisco, Chicago. It's insane. It's great. It's one of my favorite things to play. I love playing in those places. Then you have these other places, just kind of I don't know.
The Midwest.
There's places. Just happens. In Europe, of course, there's places too. There's also people that it's not like every single person is the greatest guy in the world. But the collective vibe, I just really like it. And it's not just me, my whole band, and a lot of other musicians that play out here.
Yeah.
So there you have it.
And how do you see Death Angel in the nearest future?
in the nearest future, we're very, very busy. We have a lot of activity, and we like it like that because we love to work. I myself, you know, I'm a workaholic, so we just have all this stuff planned. Finishing the writing of the album, pre-production, then recording it. It'll be done by the end of the year, and then we have some shows at the end of the year, and then the album should be released maybe March, April, and then we're back on tour, doing festivals in the summer out here and onward.
Yeah, and one like final message to the Italian fans of Death Angel.
Thank you for listening, and thanks for your support. If you've never heard of us before, please do check us out, because there's a reason why we've been around for so long. And we're still going strong. So, you know, hope I see some of you at the show tonight. We love to come to Italy. We don't get to come here as often. For us, it's a treat, and we've always loved it here. We love everything about this country. Very passionate, some of the most passionate people and fans. And we love you. Hope to see you soon.